Hey, folks. Or really, you, the listener who's listening right now, unless you're listening to this as a group, which is a little weird, but I'm not going to judge you. I'm one of those guys who can't eat pizza if it's cut into squares. It's just unnatural to me. Anyway, I'm Dustin Wong, and longtime podcast listener, first time host, and this is The Last Minute. It's a podcast where we'll be covering the biggest headlines and stories or whatever we find interesting once a month. That's right. Whenever or wherever news breaks in this fast paced world, we'll bring it to you eventually. Sure, we'll be a little late to the party, but we weren't invited anyways. So now this is our first episode. It's our pilot, our maiden voyage into, well, let's be honest, very, very known territory. So yeah, I'm gonna address the elephant in the room. No, not you, Gary. Although we should discuss your drinking problem. Well, I think it is my business. It's beginning to affect your work here. You gotta get over it, man. I'm sorry, but Sheila's gone. She's never coming back. What? No, you can't quit. No, why? Because you're fired. I'm firing you. No, I'm done. Forget it. No, pack up your things and go. Get out of here. Clean up your act, man. Jesus. Oh, really? Really? Wait, kiss your mother with that mouth? It's rude. Rude and hurtful. Oh, come on. Use the door. Well, there goes the best accountant I've ever had. Anyway, now I'm aware a new satire show is nothing new, believe me. And neither are podcasts, for that matter, which is something I found out recently. I thought there were only like 12 of these things. Turns out there's over 1 million, which is, more. But while I might not be the most reliable or best looking, seriously, why I think I'm doing this as a podcast, I swear to be ever vigilant against our social and political figures in the event that they disappoint us or take themselves too seriously. And in the best way a facetious 20-something knows how, through cheesy one-liners and unqualified opinions. But again, only once a month. And now, the fake news. All right, let's get into it. January 2021 has come and gone, and here's how it went. Our top story, Donald J. Trump is no longer president. I don't have any jokes yet. I just really like saying it. I'm going to do it one more time. Donald Trump is no longer president. This makes me smile, On January 20th, Joseph Robinette Biden was sworn into his new role as the 46th President of the United States and man who now currently owes me $2,000. During his inaugural speech, President Biden honored his Vice President Kamala Harris, the first woman and person of color to hold that office. "Don't tell me things can't change," said the 78-year-old straight white man. Overall, it was a beautiful and cathartic ceremony with performances by Lady Gaga, Jennifer Lopez, and Bernie Sanders as the first meme of 2021. Also in attendance was Amanda Gorman, the Youth Poet Laureate. Ms. Gorman recited poetry in front of millions of Americans with poise and grace at the young age of 22, a fact my mother will hold over my head for years to come. I mean, I'm 25 and I can't even get my dog to listen to me, right, Milo? I said, isn't that right, Milo? Milo? Milo, come here. Milo, come here. Hey, Milo, come here. Milo, no, never mind. Never mind. Just stay there. Just stay there. Stay. Good boy. A woman from Stratford, Connecticut attempted to crash the inaugural festivities and was arrested after impersonating a government official at the checkpoint. The woman claimed to be a federal officer and a member of the president's cabinet, and I don't know why she stopped there, because frankly, at that point, she could have just been anybody. I would have liked if they just let her keep listing titles before she realized she was never getting in. What do you mean I'm not on the list? I was invited. I'm a federal officer and a member of the president's cabinet and a captain of the Navy and a 5-star general and CEO of Apple and starting quarterback for the New England Patriots and Banksy. It'd be a hell of a resume. But I don't know if she mentioned which cabinet she was a member of, because chances would have been good that she was out of a job that day. During his first day in office, President Biden unveiled his policy plan, which was, just one giant Uno reverse card. The president, seriously, it's so nice to say that without throwing up in my mouth a little bit. The president began undoing several of Trump's decisions, including rejoining the World Health Organization and the Paris Agreement, to which Senator Ted Cruz responded that President Biden must care more about the people of Paris than the people of Pittsburgh, because Cruz is like that kid who never showed up to history class but now has to give a report at the end of the week. It's called the Paris Agreement because it was written in Paris. The Geneva Convention wasn't only for the people of Geneva. Ted Cruz has probably never eaten at Outback Steakhouse because he thinks it only caters to Australians. Meanwhile, I've never eaten at Outback Steakhouse because, well, I like my blood pressure the way it is. After settling in, the new administration quickly discovered that their predecessors had absolutely no plan whatsoever for the COVID vaccine distribution. Now, I know Trump is lazy, but you would think during all those months he would have half-assed something. Like, I don't know, step 1, get vaccine. Step 2, give vaccine. Then again, maybe it's best that Biden start from scratch instead of having to work off whatever Trump could have thought of. Like if you're baking for the first time and use cornstarch instead of flour because they're both white powders and very easy to mix up, there's no saving that cake. It's inedible. Just make a new one. Or go buy one. Trust me, it's just not worth it. Biden is also pushing to have Harriet Tubman replace Andrew Jackson on the $20 bill, something the last administration kept pushing back due to Trump's original choice for replacement, Mayor McCheese. Now, nearly 2/3 of voters approve of Biden's actions so far. It's only been a couple weeks, but I'd say he's off to a good start. Then again, that's not saying much since his opening act was an Orwellian wet dream. During his first week, he signed over 20 executive orders to try and get us back on the right track. However, dozens of orders were proposed. Here to review the executive orders that were left on the table is our White House correspondent, Ryan Phelps.
Thank you, Dustin. The president certainly has had his plate full these past few weeks, and while I understand he can't allow all motions to pass without the legislative process, there were a few items that I feel were unfortunately overlooked, including the following. All elected officials must sell their stock options before accepting position. If your nose isn't covered by your mask, your nose will be removed. A fee will be applied to anyone with more than 12 items in the 12 items or less lane. Anyone caught driving under 55 miles an hour in the left lane will be revoked of their tires on the spot. Weed is now legal, but weed dispensaries cannot ask to smoke some of the weed they just sold. Posting spoilers of popular media online is now a capital offense and will be treated with supreme prejudice. All forms of counterfeit money are now legal. For every instance a pet's collar is removed, their current state shall be referred to as naked and must be congratulated for every good stretch. If you die, you go to hell, no matter what. No one is allowed to talk about The Office, Hamilton, their zodiac signs, the final season of Game of Thrones, their wins on Fortnite, or the healing properties of essential oils anymore. Dark Souls shall now have an easy mode. Pansies. And lastly, for all boys who qualify under the legal qualifications of good shall be awarded with a well-deserved allotment of fudge.
Thank you for that report, Ryan.
You're welcome, Dustin. I am a Virgo, after all.
Of course you are. We'll be right back after this.
Hello, I'm Daniel Floor. Just your typical blue-collared, hard-working American, just like you. And today, I'd like to talk to you about an issue that's near and dear to my heart. It affects all of us. You, me, your next-door neighbor. It's a building block of our nation, a pillar of our society, a founding thread to the tapestry of our culture. Racism. Although racism is nothing new and can still be found in neighborhoods all over this great land of ours, it still needs your help to thrive. Now, we understand times are tough and you may not be able to give as much as you'd like, but let me assure you, just being a little racist goes a long way. Just the occasional derogatory term or an unnecessary report to local law enforcement, it all adds up. Even just by dismissing inappropriate behavior or politely laughing at bigotry humor, you're doing your part. So please, give to racism. Because ask yourself, can we afford to live in a world without it? This message was brought to you by the Proud Boys of America.
Now, even though we've managed to kick him out of the Oval Office, it turns out we're still not yet done with Donald Trump, which brings us to our buried lead. Trump was already going to make history as the worst president in the United States. He left office with the lowest approval rating of any president and 3 million jobs lost. I thought we'd be reliving the Roaring '20s, but we went ahead and skipped straight to a new Great Depression. And now I'll never get to wear my flapper dress. It was on sale. I've been waiting for the right time. Soon, someone will break into a Charleston, and I'll be there. But Trump made sure to get himself in the textbooks because he is now the first president to ever be impeached twice for being a clear and present danger to our society. And a second impeachment should come as no surprise. The guy looks like he regularly goes for seconds. Since the election last November, which feels like a millennium ago now, Trump and the crooks he calls friends, on second thought, friends seems like a strong word. They're more like human pens. You know, they only work like half the time, and when he's done with them, he just throws them away. Old Rudy Giuliani's barely got any ink left, and most of it melted down his face anyway. I'm getting off track. Since the election, Trump has claimed it was rigged, that thousands of votes were fraudulent, and his re-election was stolen from him. And we knew if Trump lost, he wasn't going to accept his defeat, and we knew that. He even said so himself, so at first, this was nothing we weren't already used to or otherwise expected. But I'm not going to say it was harmless because it was very much harmful to American democracy. And of course, because they seem to lack any sense of logic or self-awareness, Trump's legion of supporters took the blue pill and decided to remain in their disillusionment. Rallies and marches were held which most of us just ignored, hoping it'll die down after the inauguration. But then, January 6th happened. Trump had called on his MAGA cult to congregate in D.C., where he told them to head for the Capitol to stop the Electoral College. Giuliani even called for a trial by combat. And so hundreds of red hats stormed the U.S. Capitol in order to overturn the election. Turns out January wasn't really the beginning of a new year, but 2020's post-credits scene. But instead of Avengers, the ones who assembled were dangerous and ignorant rioters. As they flooded the Senate chambers, a dozen or so joined together in prayer to thank God for allowing them to be there to execute justice. Probably the second worst thing to ever happen in the name of Christianity. I'm sorry, what's that? Oh, okay. Probably the third worst. Fourth? One of the many terrible things done in the name of Christianity. Rioters broke down doors, windows, they rifled through desks and invaded offices, but they wouldn't sit in Vice President Mike Pence's chair because, according to a video taken by Luke Mogelson of The New Yorker, they didn't want to be disrespectful. A little late for that, I'd say. Michael Myers doesn't cut someone's head off and say, "Oh, I don't want to hurt anybody." These men and women committed an act of domestic terrorism, and according to a report by CNN, some of them didn't even vote in the 2020 election, and now they're facing charges. Through videos and selfies on Twitter, Facebook, and broadcast footage, the FBI has been able to acquire over 140,000 digital images of the riot, identifying 275 suspects, with that number continuing to grow. One convicted rioter was identified as a Houston police officer after deleted selfies placed him at the event. He insists he was only there to view the historic art in the building. In an unrelated matter, he also claims to only watch porn for the storylines. Another arrest was of the now famous Q Shaman, a rioter who dressed in furs, a horned helmet, and painted face, like a MAGA Mel Gibson in Braveheart, but somehow more offensive. The horny one made headlines again after refusing to eat anything not organic in prison. Prisons are already poorly managed as they are. Do you think they can afford to go to Whole Foods? I make a little over minimum wage. I can't even afford to go to Whole Foods. Now, prisons do recognize dietary restrictions due to medical or religious reasons, but if the shaman has a condition, it's called white entitlement. He and his fellow insurrectionists see themselves as patriots who deserve special treatment because, in their mind, they were invited. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know who you were. Allow me to show you to our luxury cell suite, complete with mini bars. Checkout is after 10 to 11 years. Before Trump left office, he pardoned over 100 individuals, but not one person who participated in the riot. And only now do they express regret for putting government officials' lives at risk, because now they're not going to get away with it. A classic case of you're not sorry you did it, you're sorry you got caught. Like when kids try to cheat on their tests with their phones by claiming to only be using the calculator function. Now too bad. Now you gotta use the crappy little blue elementary school calculator with the buttons that get stuck and the screen you can barely see. During the unrest, rioters were surprised that their violent actions were met with tear gas and shotguns, and while some officers were seen just letting the riot pass the barricades, the ones who were actually doing their job and protecting and serving were rushed by the mob and beaten. I guess blue lives don't matter? Or they do when it's convenient for you. You can't really rely on those who listen to people like Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham to stick to anything they say. I mean, Lindsey Graham's like that guy who makes up his own rules when playing tag. No, you can't tag me because I'm on the swings, and the swings are safe. Well, I thought the slide was safe. Well, now the swings are safe. And then everyone goes to the swings, and you can't tag anybody, and then the bell rings, and you're just it forever, and it's been 15 years. Sorry. I think that triggered something in me. Anyway, Trump, along with senators such as Cruz, Hawley, and Boebert, have now come under fire for their part in inciting the riot upon the Capitol. Twitter responded by suspending Trump's account for 12 hours before permanently banning him, which is, good. But after 4 years of his BS and now he's finally out of office, it's like your parents finally buying you that bike you wanted when you were 9, but now you're 30, and while you appreciate the sentiment, it just doesn't do much for you now. Shortly after, a report from a San Francisco analytics firm stated that misinformation about election fraud dramatically decreased by 73% after Trump's Twitter ban. I mean, yeah, after Brody, Hooper, and Quint killed Jaws, shark attacks at Amity Island probably went down, but you don't need a whole firm to tell me that. The conservative app Parler was also banned from all outlets, which led to an outcry from conservatives calling it an attack on the First Amendment. And I can see why they're upset. It's not like they have a 24-hour news channel to broadcast their right-wing opinions. Wait, they do? Ah yes, Fox News. You'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. That's my best Obi-Wan. How could I forget the actual victims of the Capitol riot? While some people lost their faith in democracy and some even lost their lives, Fox News personalities such as Brian I Wasn't Hugged Enough as a Child Kilmeade went on TV to whine about losing Twitter followers. Now, Trump is awaiting his impeachment trial, which is already off to a great start since his defense team left with only 2 weeks before the trial, after disagreeing about his legal strategy, which I can only assume was lie about everything. Now he won't even testify in the trial, probably because he knows once he tries to swear an oath, he'll burst into flame. A handful of Republicans, such as Rand Paul and Lindsey Graham, came out in support of Trump, saying that if he were to be convicted, it would destroy the Republican Party. Now, I may be old-fashioned, but if convicting a compulsive liar who set out to erase democracy and incite a riot on the Capitol would destroy the Republican Party, maybe it's not worth saving. Ted Cruz, the man who obsessed over Hillary Clinton's emails and the so-called fraudulent election, believes it's time to now move on from the insurrection. He's one of the people who started it. When you're in a relationship with someone and they cheat on you, they don't get to decide when they're forgiven. Ladies, if your man tries to get his coworkers killed and then tells them to get over it, that's a deal breaker. Now, the other half of the GOP does want to give Trump his just desserts, although let's be honest, it'd be worse for Trump to get his just salads. Oh, was that a second fat joke about Trump? Yes, it was. Republicans are calling for unity within the country, but they can't even find it within themselves. One of Trump's supporters was seen on video saying the only good Democrat is a dead one. Well, I think the only good Republican is one who gives a damn. Who? Mitt Romney? Mitt Romney? Mormon Bruce Campbell? That's the best they got? What about actual Bruce Campbell? He has a chainsaw for a hand. He fought Deadites. What was that? That ever happened? That was fake? That was a fictional character he played in a movie? Okay, but then who read the Necronomicon? Also fake? Also from the same movie? Well, I didn't think I could be more disappointed today, but here we are. I need a quick break. We'll be right back after this.
Hi, I'm local public attorney Mark Powell, an everyday citizen looking out for his fellow man, ready to take the law into his own hands. Even though I'm not a traditional servant of the legal system with a certified license to practice law, what I do have is an intense passion to serve absolute justice. Though I am not here to advertise certain teachings of organized religions, I am a firm believer in the philosophy of an eye for an eye. So with that, what I can guarantee is a personal delivery of direct consequences to your rivals. No public court appearances, no judicial process, just an equal retaliation of the actions of their past. My passion for justice holds no bounds, no limits to age, titles, orientation, or any social norm that stands between you and the natural law of due process. Son or daughter having trouble on the playground, I'll have that little shit-eating concrete to distinguish right from wrong. Personal belongings stolen in the nursing home, I will strip the fake teeth out of their perverted gummy mouth in the righteous path of justice. I once had a client come to me as an innocent victim of a malicious hit and run. With the assistance of my contracted research team at a local Geek Squad directory, I was able to find and track the license and registration of the vehicle in question. How did I retaliate, you might ask? Vandalism? Too easy. Financial compensation? Not enough. Instead, as a proud heterosexual man, I began an intimate relationship with Samantha Henderson's husband for a span of 3.5 years, sharing deep emotional trauma and personal milestones along the way, which resulted in the destruction of their marriage and followed by me, Mark Powell, leaving her husband, Ryan Henderson, as retribution of him breaking his marital vows. I settle for nothing less than the purest form of absolute justice. My only compensation is a small fee with a contracted guarantee to post a bond for bail in the event of probable felonies resulting in the process. As long as the action taken can result in the release for bail, I have no reservations taking a human life in the name of justice. So call me, Mark Powell, at 1-800-ABSOLUTE-JUSTICE. That's 1-800-227-658, 835-878-423-POUND. Again, that's 1-800-227-658, 835-878-423-POUND. So call me, Mark Powell, or visit me at my office at the back of a local dive bar. Mark Powell, here to serve. Now say it with me, absolute justice.
Okay, so the country is currently under new management, and we're trying to put our last boss behind bars. But in other news, here in our home state of Connecticut, high schools will be required to offer Black and Latino studies beginning in the fall 2022, with a proposed bill requiring Native American history. Well, I guess our invite got lost in the mail, said the entire Asian community. At a Chinese airport, 4 men received mouth ulcers after eating 30 kilograms of oranges to avoid paying extra baggage fees. But you know what they didn't get? Scurvy. I said scurvy. A New York City couple was indicted for forging multiple positive coronavirus tests to delay the husband's trial on sale and possession of drugs. Meanwhile, I had to get actual COVID just to get time off from work. Godiva Chocolates will close all 128 of their North American stores due to the pandemic, and not because people finally realized $80 is a little high for a subpar chocolate. Yeah, I said subpar. Restaurants in Thailand are now offering cannabis-infused cuisine, bringing a whole new meaning to the name, Happy Meals. Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla, was in a generous spirit last month, donating $5 million to the nonprofit educational organization Khan Academy, but has yet to donate $3 to Wikipedia. Conveniently, Mr. Musk's accountants caught him during a Star Trek movie marathon. And who should we make this check out to, sir? Con! Had to really pull away from the mic for that one. Musk is also CEO of SpaceX, an American aerospace company, and he believes he can start sending humans to Mars by the year 2026. However, I'm still waiting on plans to bring Trump supporters back to reality. German scientists have developed a way to make paralyzed mice walk again. The lead scientist's name, Dr. Strangelove. In the world of entertainment, rapper Andre Ramel Young, known professionally as Dr. Dre, was released from the hospital after suffering a brain aneurysm. A statement was released by his publicist assuring fans that despite this recent hardship, Mr. Young is still Dre. Video game publisher EA lost their exclusivity to make Star Wars games last month, and now fans will finally receive the long-awaited sequel they've been clamoring for, Star Wars Connect 2. The streaming service Netflix has a slate of 71 movies to be released this year, except for the one I actually want to watch. They're making good on their promise to release a new movie every week of 2021, and with 71 movies in total, what are the chances they're all going to be good? I mean, for every Roma and Okja Netflix produces, there's at least 7 We Can Be Heroes, because even Shark Boy and Lava Girl need a cinematic universe. Plans have been made to adapt the board game Risk into a TV show, which everyone will start and no one will finish. The production will be overseen by Beau Willimon, creator of House of Cards, and after producing a show starring Kevin Spacey, well, I'm certain Mr. Willimon knows all about Risk. The unusual pairing of CBS Sports and Nickelodeon teamed up to broadcast the first game of the NFL postseason, followed by a special airing of the NFL Locker Room at 12 o'clock Eastern on Nick at Night. The game had Nickelodeon-themed graphics on the field and a SpongeBob pregame show. This presentation was an effort by the NFL to bring the whole family together and apologize to Mr. SquarePants for bumping him from the 2019 halftime show. Super Bowl 55 is coming up, and both Coke and Pepsi have agreed to sit this one out and not air a commercial during the game in fear of sending the wrong message. Looks like it's 7-Up's time to shine. I'm actually surprised Pepsi isn't going with their original strategy of having Kendall Jenner cure coronavirus. And speaking of commercials, that's what we call a segue, kids, let's hear a quick message from our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by IHOP's new breakfast burritos, for the man on the go who thinks even Taco Bell is too ethnic. Also brought to you by Paperweights. Why use any blunt object when you can pay $10 for one that looks like a cactus? And the cool side of the pillow. At night, can't sleep? Flip to the cool side of the pillow. Coolsville. Population, you.
Alright, folks, I'm out of here. Thank you for tuning into our first episode, and remember, if first don't succeed, blame someone else. Have a great day, and a better tomorrow. The Last Minute with Dustin Wong. Hosted by me, Dustin Wong. A 20-something studios production. Featuring Ryan Phelps and Ricky Hamilton. Written by Dustin Wong, Hunter Bustamante, Liam Foley, Ricky Hamilton, and Steve Kalpin. Contact the show at thelastminute.dw at gmail.com. And be sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Hey guys, before we officially close our first episode, we at The Last Minute would like to take a moment to honor and remember Jared McCarrow, a close member of our producer's family who had recently passed. We know that he would have supported us in our series because that's the kind of man he was. Funny, outgoing, compassionate, truly memorable to those who knew him. Though his time was tragically cut short, he lived life with the full intention to seize every moment. Our thoughts are with Jared, his family, and all close to him.